Let's be real, the phone in your pocket basically holds your entire digital life. But have you ever stopped to think about how well all that stuff is actually protected? Today, we're going to dive deep and break down the security behind the two giants of the mobile world, Apple's iOS and Google's Android.
So let's ask that question directly. How secure is all that data you're carrying around? Well, the answer isn't so simple, because it all comes down to the core philosophy of the operating system that's running the show.
I mean, just take a second and think about what's on your phone right now. We're talking about everything: your private photos, your messages, all your contacts, your banking apps, your passwords. The stakes are incredibly high, which is why really getting a handle on mobile security is so important.
All right, first up, let's talk about Apple's approach. They've built what everyone famously calls a walled garden. And it's exactly what it sounds like, a tightly controlled ecosystem that was designed from the ground up with security as its #1 job. The secret sauce for Apple is that they control everything. Because they design both the iPhone's hardware, the actual physical phone, and the iOS software, they can create a security system where every single piece fits together perfectly. This complete control is the key to their whole strategy. And this defense system kicks in the very second you power on your phone. It's a process called Secure Boot, and you can think of it like a bouncer at an exclusive club. Your iPhone runs a bunch of digital signature checks to make sure the software trying to run is the real deal, authentic, signed Apple code that hasn't been messed with. So what does this actually stop? Well, it's huge. It blocks any malicious code from running at the deepest level of your phone. It stops nasty things called rootkits, which try to bury themselves in your system, and it prevents any unauthorized changes to the operating system itself. It means your phone always starts in a state that Apple trusts.
Okay, so the phone is on and in a trusted state. What now? Well, every single app you open gets put into its own little secure room, a digital sandbox. It's like this. An app can do whatever it wants inside its own room, but it is absolutely forbidden from opening the door and messing with other apps' stuff or wandering the hallways to access critical system files.
Now, you might be wondering, how do these apps even get into the walled garden to begin with? Well, they have to get past a very strict gatekeeper, the Apple App Store and its legendary review process. Every app that gets submitted is put under a microscope by both automated systems and actual human reviewers. They are hunting for malware, shady data collection, hidden malicious code, and anything else that violates Apple's strict privacy and security policies. This process alone massively cuts down the risk of you ever downloading something harmful.
Okay, let's shift gears and jump over to the world of Android. If iOS is a walled garden, then you could say Android is more like an open frontier. It's an ecosystem built on flexibility, user choice, and a completely different way of thinking about security. And that really gets to the heart of the central trade-off here. Android's open-source nature is awesome because it gives phone manufacturers the freedom to customize it, and it gives you, the user, way more choice. But that exact same openness creates a much more diverse and, frankly, more challenging security landscape to defend.
So how does Android guard this open frontier? Well, its primary weapon is something called Google Play Protect. Think of it as a built-in, always-on security guard that's constantly on patrol for threats.
And the scale of this thing is, well, it's just mind-boggling. Google Play Protect scans over 3 billion apps every single day. And it doesn't just check apps before you download them, it's constantly monitoring the apps already on your device to see if they start acting suspiciously.
Now, Android also uses that sandboxing technique to keep apps isolated. But a huge part of its security strategy is putting the power directly into your hands. And it does that through its really detailed user permission model.
This is where you become the gatekeeper. An app can't just decide to access your camera or turn on your microphone or rifle through your contacts. Nope. Every single time an app wants to touch sensitive data or hardware, a pop-up has to appear asking for your explicit permission. You have the final say, yes or no.
Okay, so we've seen the two different philosophies, right? One is all about strict top-down control. The other is about providing flexible security where the user has more say. Let's put them right next to each other and see how it all shakes out.
It really does just boil down to this fundamental difference. You've got iOS, a closed ecosystem that prioritizes locking everything down for maximum security, and then you've got Android, an open ecosystem that prioritizes user choice and flexibility while building powerful security features on top of that open foundation.
And this chart really shows how these philosophies play out in the real world. On the iOS side, because it's closed source, you can only install apps from that heavily curated app store. The result? A very, very low risk of malware. But then you look at Android. Because it's open source, you can install apps not just from the Play Store, but from anywhere on the internet using files called APKs. That gives you incredible flexibility, but it also directly leads to a higher potential risk for malware, especially if you wander off the beaten path.
But here's the thing. After you account for all the secured boot processes, all the sandboxes, and all the App Store reviews, there is one final, and honestly probably the most important layer of security. And that layer, well, it's you.
You know, with all this incredible tech working behind the scenes to protect us, it's really easy to start thinking our phones are basically invincible. But the answer to that is a big, fat no. No system is perfect, and your own personal behavior is the ultimate wildcard that can either make all these defenses stronger or completely undermine them.
So what can you actually do? It's pretty simple. Here's a quick 5-step checklist. Number 1, always keep your operating system and your apps updated. That's where you get the latest security patches. 2, use a strong password and biometrics. 3, just be paranoid about suspicious links in emails or texts. 4, and this is a big one for Android users, be extremely careful if you decide to install apps from outside the official Play Store. And 5, make sure your Find My service is turned on. It's a lifesaver if your phone gets lost or stolen.
And that really brings us to the biggest takeaway of all this. The operating system, whether it's iOS or Android, provides the super strong lock for your digital life. But at the end of the day, you're the one holding the key. Your habits, your awareness, that's what truly keeps your information safe.
So, I'll just leave you with this one final thought to chew on. Both Apple and Google have built these incredibly robust, complex systems to protect you. The real question is, are your habits strong enough to be the final critical piece of that security puzzle?